Sometimes life hits you with these quiet bombshells that make you question everything you thought was carved in stone, like that rainy afternoon back in 22 when I first stepped into Ethan Hargrove's secluded estate up in the misty hills of the Pacific Northwest, the kind of place where evergreens whisper secrets and the fog rolls in like it's hiding something big. Ethan, this tech whiz who'd cashed out big on some AI startup, was basically a ghost in his own home, pacing those creaky oak floors with eyes hollowed out from losing his wife in a freak seaplane crash right after their baby girl Mia came into the world. He'd built this fortress of glass walls and smart home toys, all meant to cradle his kid, but Mia? She was this tiny shadow, 5 years old, perched by the floor-to-ceiling windows all day, fingers tracing the chill of the pain, never flinching at the light shows he'd rig up or the audiobooks droning on. Doc swore she was blind as night from birth, optic nerves fried before she even drew breath. And Ethan, God, he blamed himself, whispering apologies into the dark like it was his code that glitched her wiring. Me? Sarah Klein, just a 28-year-old housekeeper scraping by after burying my own newborn 3 months prior, heart ripped raw, no family to lean on, just a classified ad promising steady pay and solitude. I walked in thinking I'd dust shelves and fade into the wallpaper, but from that first glimpse of Mia, hugging her threadbare stuffed fox like it was her only anchor, something tugged at me, this gut-deep ache that said she wasn't gone. Just listening, waiting for someone to really see. Those early weeks blurred into a rhythm of feather dusters and folded linens, the staff to old-timers who'd been there since the crash keeping their heads down, murmuring about how Mia'd hum these faint, off-key tunes at dusk, like she was piecing together a puzzle no one else could touch. Ethan hovered like a storm cloud, graying beard unkempt, delegating his board meetings to underlings so he could guide her tiny hand through meals, his voice cracking on stories of her mom, that vibrant pilot who'd laugh mid-loop-the-loop. But me, I started lingering, not pushing, just being there, dropping a soft cloth once to test if she'd tilt toward the thump. Yeah, she did, sharp as a hawk's ear. And then, God, that afternoon in her room, all butter-yellow walls frozen in time, like a shrine her mom never got to finish, I fished out my phone to check the time, flashlight beam slicing accidental across her face. Her lids fluttered faint, like a moth against glass, and my breath caught, heart slamming, because blind kids don't track light. Not like that. Not with pupils dilating, just a whisper. I froze, pulse thundering, thinking maybe grief's playing tricks, but no. It was real, this flicker of maybe, and suddenly those untouched shelves hid more than dust bunny. A tucked-away box of eye drops, labels faded but dates stretching back years, prescribed by some Dr. Elias Thorne I'd never heard of, the kind of name that sticks like bad coffee. That spark lit a fire I couldn't snuff, nights tossing in my attic quarters replaying her flinch, the way she'd lean into breezes like they carried colors she couldn't name, so I tested gentle, Curtain cracks at dawn, her head swiveling slow toward the glow, shadow puppets from my phone across the hall, her eyes darting, not focused but hungry. And those drops? I pocketed one on a hunch, drove 2 hours to my old nursing buddy Lena in Seattle, who ran it under the lab lights and called me back hoarse. Sarah, this ain't salinate cyclopentolate jacked with off-book blockers, the stuff Thorne peddled in underground trials for big pharma payouts, contracting pupils so tight it mimics total blackout, especially in kids whose nerves are just dormant, not dead. My stomach twisted. Thorne, this slick ophthalmologist with a string of hushed settlements, wasn't just sloppy. He was bought, testing experimental suppressants on trusting parents like Ethan, pocketing bonuses to stabilize conditions that didn't need fixing, all to pad his yacht fund while families like the Hargroves crumbled in the dark he manufactured. Rage boiled slow, not fireworks, but embers. Ethan trusted him blind, dosed Mia daily per orders, thinking it eased pressure that wasn't there, stealing her first sunrises for a doc's ego and a check from suits who cared more for patents than pupils. I held it close at first, notebooks crammed with her blinks, but one twilight hush, Mia cross-legged on that faded rug clutching her fox, I knelt soft and flicked the light steady. Hey, kiddo, does this feel like anything? And she blinked deliberate, head cocking like dawn breaking. Then this whisper, cracked as autumn leaves. I saw sparkles, Mama. Mama hit me like a rogue wave. tears blurring my own sight because she'd never named me that, never bridged the gap. But there it was, her arms flinging round my neck, Fox tumbling forgotten, and I held her, rocking, this fierce vow blooming. No more shadows for you, not on my watch. Ethan burst in then, catching the glow. What the hell are you doing to my daughter? Voice thunder, snatching the phone like it'd burn, eyes wild with that father's fury masking the fear he'd nursed too long. But Mia? She bolted first time ever, legs pumping sure toward me, burrowing into my side, trembling. Light. I saw light, Daddy. He staggered, face crumpling like wet newsprint, the room thick with rain patter outside, and in that beat, everything cracked open. Stop the drops, he rasped, sinking to the floor beside us, hand hovering over hers like he feared she'd vanish. All of it. Now. From there, it snowballed quiet but fierce. We ditched the vials, sunlight flooding rooms. Mia chased with giggles, flashcards turning to grins as she'd jab a chubby finger at circles, colors spilling from her lips like secrets. Yellows like fox fur. Ethan thawed slow, joining our crayon wars, his laughs rusty but real, guilt gnawing him raw. I let that bastard blind her for profit. Sarah handed her over like a lab rat, while I pieced the puzzle, digging Thorne's trail of ghosted lawsuits, parents gagged by NDAs for kids who'd miraculously recovered post-trial. But pushback hit hard, anonymous texts buzzing my burner. Dig deeper, you'll bury yourself. Smears online painting Ethan the negligent mogul, me the gold-digging meddler, all traced to Thorne's old clinic proxies, that snake slithering from shadows to protect his empire. We lawyered up anyway, storming the DA's office with tox reports and witness affidavits, the air electric as Thorne's mugshot flashed on screens. Arrested in a Baja Beach pad under alias, hauled back in cuffs, sneering in deposition. You think vision's free? Progress demands sacrifice. Your kid was collateral for cures. Ethan leaned in, voice ice. Cures for your wallet, you hack. And the courtroom gasped when Mia's sketches hit the bench, vibrant swirls screaming life he couldn't erase. Thorne folded under cross, spilling pharma like rotten fruit. Fined millions. Cage 20. To life. Headlines roaring. Doc's darkness exposed. But as the gavel cracked, Ethan pulled me aside in that echoing hall, Mia twirling between us. You didn't just save her eyes, Sarah, you lit us all up. We adopted the chaos into family. Mia blooming into this firecracker artist. Her canvases hung in Seattle galleries by 16. But here's the rub that still keeps me up some nights. Was it justice, or just the tip of an iceberg where docs play God for grants? And how many MIAs are still out there, dosed into doubt by experts we blind trust? Ethan's pushing reforms now, lobbying for kid trial oversight. But communities splinter. Some hail us heroes. Others whisper we sued for spotlight, stirring old feuds over who gets to call the shots on helping the vulnerable. What do you think? Does one whistleblower topple the tower, or just rattle the windows? Drop your take below, where you're tuning in from. Hit like if this hit home. Subscribe for more real talk twists, cause life's too short for shadows we could have seen coming.